get back to burning a little bit. You talked about timing, and this is something we're wanting to do a deep dive on the podcast. We got a friend named Jeremy French who's with the Southeastern Grassland
Institute.
That's right. Down in Tennessee is where he's located. But have you done, I assume you guys have, some experimenting with, growing season burns and some, something that people talk, it's almost a cliche is, burn in the fall for Forbes. And those, whereas when you drive around Iowa in March, there's always smoke on the horizon if it's a clear, non-windy day. And that's, from talking with Jeremy, that's basically the worst time to burn because it doesn't get, other than removing thatch, it doesn't really get you anything. And it instead sets the table for cool season grasses to really establish themselves. So it's something we want to help people understand how to do better. Now we've preached May burning a lot on this podcast, and I'm kind of fine tuning that through my experience. I think very early May can be okay. But I think probably like those last days of April is probably the safest. And the only reason I say that is for ground nesting birds. Once you start getting it close to that 10th of May, and CRP, I think, cuts you off on the 10th of May, doesn't
15th.
it? Or is it 15th?
Yeah.
For no burning after this point, because the ground nesting birds are, and I've witnessed that effect. You see a cooked nest, and you're like, oh, shoot, I wasn't wanting to do that. Or, you might have, even if you got too late into May, you might have a bunch of hatchlings, and they can't get away from the flames. So, there's some nuance there, but definitely a May burn is far better than a March burn. But what about some of these growing season burns, like summer burning? What is being achieved with, we'll start there with a summer burn, and when would you consider a summer burn?
So you're asking the wrong guy, and that's because
Go ahead and cut that out, Nick.
my attitude about this has changed quite a bit over the years.
Well, let's hear that. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I first got into the field, I was coming from a graduate school perspective, an academic perspective, and I'd been reading the literature and the science on fire and timing of application and those kinds of things. And you're right. People are recommending that if you want to stimulate forbs, burn in the fall. If you want to suppress smooth brome, burn late May, early June. And so growing season fire, dormant season fire, spring fire, fall fire, all have a different effect on the system. And so initially I was burning according to those objectives. I mean, that's the essence of prescribed fire.
Right.
You prescribe the conditions that you need. When I say conditions, I mean fuel conditions, weather conditions, timing, those kinds of things. You prescribe the conditions that you need in order to apply fire to accomplish specific pre-identified ecological objectives. Suppress smooth brome, top kill woody vegetation, whatever the objective might be. And so that's how I was operating. And then over time, and Jerry Wilhelm was one that helped me really open my eyes to this, I realized the indigenous people were primarily burning during the dormant season and primarily burning in the fall after a killing frost. And they were burning every year. And so, and they were, they come at it from a little different attitude than we do, which is, how are we going to make this area do what we want it to do?
Yeah.
Okay, we want to get rid of this brome, so we're going to apply a fire at this time, right?
We want
to be in control.
Fair, they didn't have to worry about brome yet. But.
Right, that's right. But we want to be in control. We want to make this piece of ground do what we want. And so we're going to wield fire as a tool, a surgical tool to accomplish what we want.
Right.
Whereas with the indigenous people, it was more a process. And it's a rhythm. It's an ancient rhythm of the land that the humans were the catalyst for. And so we're now on our highest quality remnant systems. That's how we're burning. We're burning every year. and we're burning in the fall after a killing frost.
That's so interesting.
In our reconstructed systems that are really just we remade this system, or in heavily altered systems, we will still apply fire in a prescribed manner, like the pasture type scenario where we're trying to suppress the smooth brome or something like that. But by and large, in the highest quality remnant systems, it's more restore the processes as they happened historically and let the system fall back into those ancient rhythms.